This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
CBD is a game changer sweeping the nation. This hemp extract is the natural way to elevate your mood, eliminate aches and pains, reduce anxiety, and keep you sleeping all night long. It can even cut your workout recovery time in half. Get in the game today with 20% off all orders of CBD and lavender products from Lavender Lane, a lavender farm located right here in Milan, Michigan. Just go to lavenderlanemi.com today and enter coupon code DETROIT for 20% off your entire order. Guys, look, these amazing products are infused with calming lavender to maximize their effectiveness, meaning your CBD items only take minutes to take effect, which is way quicker than those pills you were about to swallow. On top of it, they are perfect for men and women. Lavender Lane has lab-tested CBD creams, tinctures, and roll-ons that are perfect for any situation, even if you're on the go. Put your health back in your hands by heading over to lavenderlanemi.com and entering coupon code DETROIT for 20% off your entire order of CBD and lavender products. What do you have to lose? Your satisfaction is guaranteed or your money back. So if you need lavender gifts for your loved ones or just looking for the natural way to ease your discomfort with CBD, go to lavenderlanemi.com and use coupon code DETROIT to unlock these miraculous benefits of CBD and lavender. That's lavenderlanemi.com. And remember, use coupon code DETROIT for 20% off your CBD and lavender products from Michigan's own Lavender Lane.
I was trying to get it how I live. I want them dead presidents. I want to pull up, head spin, get it, get fly. I got 6 jobs, I don't get tired. Grind harder, learn from every time you ever fail. If it never fails, just grind smarter.
Welcome to the weekend, everybody. This is Two Bad Hombres. I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Joining me, Vito Churko. Happy Saturday, brother.
Happy Saturday to you as well. What's going on?
Well, I seen a tweet from you that you did talk some Pistons, so definitely second half of the podcast, I want to get your sense of what you're hearing because, you know, a lot of fans kind of are tuned out, but it is the home opener. The week is here. This upcoming week, the Pistons will kick off their season. The Red Wings have started as well, but the Wings are mired in a 4-game losing streak, so as the host of Top Shelf will say, it's a rebuild, so calm down, tune in later today where you can hear the debut of Top Shelf. This week's episode, definitely Mike and Greg do a great job. They break down the Red Wings, and I want to get a sense of where they're at as well. But starting off the podcast, got to talk about Michigan. It's a big game, bro. It's a big opportunity for the Michigan Wolverines tonight, 7:30.
It is. Yes.
They're going to take on the Penn State Nittany Lions. What do you think?
Well, I mean, on the surface, it's a tough one. It's in Happy Valley, under the lights, primetime Saturday night football, and it's a whiteout for Penn State. Michigan typically does not fare too well against Penn State when there is a whiteout at Penn State, the game in which they play against the Nittany Lions. So, and I guess Penn State's done the whiteout the most times against Michigan of any opponent. So, definitely, they try to get that mental edge on Michigan as well. And I think tonight, Penn State might not even need a mental edge. I mean, based on how Michigan has looked in recent memory, and I know they've had some easy matchups since Iowa, but I look at that Iowa game and, you know, a 10-3 final, and it wasn't impressive. Obviously, it was not impressive whatsoever. And then, you know, even playing Illinois, and Illinois did not have Brandon Peters, and still you struggled at times in that ball game. And you ended up putting on the scoreboard, I believe, 40-plus points. I believe it was 42-25 final. So you pulled away in the end of that one. But overall-wise this season, Shea Patterson and the offense and the play calling from Josh Gaddis has not been nearly effective enough and productive enough. And we thought Michigan this season would start playing in space, running those RPOs with Shea, and Shea would look extremely effective and look better than last year. But he's regressed. He hasn't taken a step forward. And it really concerns you about the Michigan offense when you bring that up, because you would have had to have believed that the offense by this season, with Jim Harbaugh in year number 5, Shea Patterson in year number 2 under center as the Michigan Wolverines quarterback, that the offense, and with this change at coordinator with Josh Gaddis, would have really opened up the offense. But that has not occurred. And the offense is still struggling. And going on the road at Penn State, I'm not liking Michigan's odds.
See, I think this is interesting, too, because obviously I'm a State supporter, so I love all the criticism of Michigan and Jim Harbaugh. I'm not going to lie. But if you want to take the opposite approach, how much credit do you give the Wolverines? I mean, yes, looking pretty and looking effective is one thing, but they are still winning the games, and that's the name of the game. Now, this matchup against Penn State might pose a couple more challenges, but for those that are, on the opposite side of you and maybe Adam that say, oh, the Wolverines don't look good, they don't look like they can actually beat the likes of Penn State, Notre Dame, and Ohio State, those that say, hey, you guys are being so critical, you're being a bad Michigan supporter because, as a Spartan supporter, I would kill to look awful and be 5-1. What do you say to those that say, hey, calm down a little bit? The Wolverines are 5-1, and yes, they aren't playing as well, they aren't looking as crisp, but they are coming away on Saturdays with the W's.
And there's still a chance that Michigan does win, and it has won the 5 games already. It's just it's tough sledding ahead. If you lose tonight, then you have to play Notre Dame next week, and you're thinking 2 straight losses, and you're 5-3 all of a sudden, and your season's over with. So there's that factor as well to take into account. And I try to be the optimistic dude. I try to be the glass half full dude, not the glass half empty guy. So, sure, Michigan still has a chance to thrive and succeed this season. But really, they still have to get their act together. And starting tonight, because if Michigan once again does not win against Penn State Saturday night, Michigan is doomed. Their season is fried. Their season is over with. Jim Harbaugh, maybe he's done in Ann Arbor, and I don't think Michigan still is looking at firing him. But the hot seat, it heats up a bit more if Michigan loses tonight, and then not just tonight, but loses another game. I think even only 3 losses, and Michigan really heats up the hot seat of Jim Harbaugh. Because in year number 5 for Jim Harbaugh, you would have thought that Michigan is a national title contender. And you would have thought the gap between Michigan and Ohio State and the other national powers, but specifically Ohio State as your arch nemesis, would have been lessened. But really, it's been widened, or it's the same. The gap is the same. It's still as large as it was going into year number 1 for Harbaugh at Michigan. So that's a problem in itself. And if you lose even 3 games once again, I think the hot seat is heated, or is just heated up. It heats up for Harbaugh, if that is the case, John.
So the reason why there's a lot of criticism is there's a belief that going forward, that because of what you guys are watching, that an offense that doesn't look as consistent, a defense that gives up 25 straight points, can't go and face the bigger talent. And I think that's where, after 5 years, and I think it's a fair criticism too, to be honest with you, after 5 years, you want to see a direction. You want to see, the program look like they belong and look like they're going forward. And I think the supporters of Michigan and those that are watching are kind of, starting to formulate ideas that, what? Can Michigan really take that next step? Can they really take that next step forward and meet some of the goals in terms of winning the Big Ten, defeating Ohio State, and actually going to Indianapolis and, putting some trophies in that trophy case? So when you start to see performances against Army and Rutgers, and you start to kind of put it all together and you go, man, against Illinois, Illinois was able to score a couple touchdowns unanswered. And one thing, too, that is really befuddling to a lot of people, that's really frustrating, is all the turnovers. That kind of speaks to an undisciplined coaching staff because, yes, it's the players that are fumbling and losing possession, but at the same time, if the coaching staff doesn't correct it right away or says, look, you fumble the ball, you're out of the game. You can't have that sheer number of turnovers if you're the Michigan Wolverines. And this year, I've never seen a Wolverine football team look like that on the field, especially with the sloppiness and the turnovers.
The miscues have reared their ugly head. You're right. And it's good to bring that up, John. I should have thought of bringing that up before because another negative about Michigan football this season. And not only fumbling the football, but losing these fumbles to the opponents as well. So and the ground game has been miserable in that facet, losing so many darn fumbles. Shea has not looked the greatest either. Has turned over the football himself. But the ground game especially, from my recollection of all these games that I watched this season of Michigan football, it's been the ground game that, actually has the potential coming into the season, but is underachieved. And Zach Charbonnet, I think, has been playing hurt now for a while, at least for a couple of weeks. So Charbonnet isn't nearly as effective as the beginning of the season, as we thought he would be coming into this year when he was going to be the standout freshman running back. Well, Charbonnet has not lived up to the bill. But I still trigger this or, look at Shea Patterson and the play calling when it comes to the struggles of the offense as a whole. Shea Patterson and your number 2 under center as Michigan football starting quarterback, I thought he would have been better by now. And Shea Patterson really hasn't made progress. Once again, I think he's really regressed from year number 1 in Ann Arbor to year number 2 as the Wolverine starting quarterback. So there's a problem right there. And then the play calling is still, a bunch of running, even 3rd and long plays, 3rd and 8. They're throwing these little dump passes, little screens on 3rd and long as well, and they're not converting. It's like there's no creativity in the offensive play calling. And you have a new OC in Josh Gaddis, who you thought would have opened up the play calling and would have started using the vertical passing game as well with these offensive weapons that he had, specifically at wide receiver, and Tariq Black, and Donovan Peoples-Jones, and Nico Collins, all these guys that can stretch the game offensively, down the field with big plays down the field. And Michigan hasn't opened it up, hasn't really spread out the offense, and there's been no creativity subsequently. And once again, I go back to those 3rd and long plays where they're still running plays that are good for converting short yardage situations. Whether it be a run, up the middle they're trying to run on that kind of a 3rd and long, or a screen pass. And what is that doing? Michigan was doing that last year. It's done that forever now under Jim Harbaugh. And you thought Michigan would have changed its ways coming into year number 5 for Harbaugh with the new offensive coordinator, would have opened up the offense and the play calling at least a bit more. And there's still no, at the end of the day, John, the problem is for a lot of Michigan fans, there's still no creativity. There's still no innovativeness out of this Michigan offense. And that's a huge problem, along with those miscues and all those fumbles from Michigan.
Hoo-hoo, trouble in Ann Arbor, and now trouble when Michigan goes on the road tonight to face Penn State. What percentage would you give it that Michigan could win this game? I think it's going to be tough, but if Michigan is able to win the line of scrimmage a little bit, get it to 2nd and 3rd and short, if they're able to kind of keep it close, play one of those games like you had against Rutgers and Illinois and things like that, kind of keep it close, you're going to take some criticism regarding time of possession and things like that. I don't think you're going to see too many big plays, but you got to have them and execute at timely situations if Michigan's going to win. You got to air it out a little bit, and you got to execute, and no doubt you got to limit the turnovers, but this could be one of those games where, hey, you move the ball up and down the field, but you might not get touchdowns, but you might get a plethora of opportunities to kick field goals. And if Don Brown's defense, are you willing to maybe entertain the thought that this Michigan team is really going to have to rely on their defense and just say, look, let's just put up with that offense and figure it out later. But if we can enhance and really improve as a team via the defense, then maybe you can meet your goals because, look, in simple terms, defense wins championships. And if Don Brown can dial it up with pressure and force some turnovers in that situation, maybe you say, Vito, yeah, it's not, ideal. It's not plan A. It's not sexy. But could you entertain Michigan being a stout defensive team and getting better?
Well, the defense is still good, but it's not as good as last year. You still lost a ton of talent from last season. Devin Bush, Chase Winovich, Rashawn Gary, just to name a few guys that had all this just talent and upside and have gone on to the NFL via the NFL draft now. So you lost all that talent from last season. And the defense is still good. It's been steady for the most part this season. But you know what, it's not as good. It comes down to that. And I like guys such as Aiden Hutchinson. I like their second year with Andrew Thomas and Levert Hill. So it can still be stout at times. But for the defense to win a football game in Penn State tonight, I just don't think it's going to happen. Penn State has a bigger playmaker than Michigan has on the entire offensive side of the ball, and that is KJ Hamler, who is this guy that when he gets in the open field, I mean, he is electric. He's a guy that played at Orchard Lake St. Mary's, then went to IMG in Florida, got hurt before that, never even played at IMG, but a stud at Orchard Lake St. Mary's, can break open a game as well via special teams, via, the punt returns, and just returning the football. So he's a stud. He's a guy to watch out for tonight that I think Michigan will have trouble stopping throughout the whole entire game. And because of all of that, all of the reasons that I already mentioned about Michigan struggling offensively coming into this one on Saturday night, I give Michigan a 40% chance. And that's it. That's a 40% chance to win tonight.
So you heard it here. Vito's not giving them too much a chance. Nah, I mean, it's 60-40 is not bad. I'm going to go a little bit less. I'm going to go 35% and 65% that they lose. But yeah, I'm sitting here and I'm like, all right, this could be a fun evening. Pay attention to our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast. Maybe you'll see another edition of Mr. Brightside, who will sing to you Michigan fans and let you know it's not all bad because, like Adam said on the Doc and Jock podcast, the more Michigan loses, maybe the faster you eliminate Jim Harbaugh and you start the next phase of Michigan football. And oh, baby, we could be now this fall heading towards the discussion of what's next for both Michigan and Michigan State. So stay tuned. We'll have some fun with it because, Vito, I'm Mr. Brightside, and it's just one of those things where sometimes you just need a little bit of reassurance that it's going to be okay.
And then Michigan State has a bye week. So you don't have to worry about Michigan State, right? And they was ugly recently against Wisconsin, against Ohio State, getting blown out. And where's been that vaunted D? Hey, I don't want to go after you too hard, but I got to give it to you a little notch. I mean, you're going after Michigan. And I know you will love watching Michigan tonight if they lose. You will be just all in your element, in your glory, living your best life, man. And you'll be rubbing it in on Twitter to the masses that are Michigan fans. I know that.
Yeah, maybe at halftime you'll hear a little bit, I just can't look. It's killing me.
Just rubbing it. Hey, it's a huge song in the Big House, baby. The fans love it and get into it. But I don't think you'll be hearing that song at Penn State. Not for the Michigan fans as well. Maybe once Penn State's up big. Because it could get ugly. And I give, like I said, Michigan a 40% chance to win. But that's at best. And realistically, about what I know regarding Michigan football right now and how negative I've been, and based on the results on the field, I could have said less than 40%, as you did.
All right. Second half of the podcast is here. I do want to discuss the fact that you got into the Pistons a little bit. That's good. Opening week is coming up, and they're going to have the home opener, and you kind of get a sense. It's tough because we love Detroit sports. I know you and I are heavily focused a little bit more on the Lions and kind of their season as a result of our new relationship with Sports Illustrated. But we love all Detroit sports, the Tigers, the Wings, and the Pistons. Obviously, those three teams are further behind in their rebuilds. But, the Tigers are at the very beginning. But the Tigers and Pistons are in a unique situation in that, they're kind of maybe into year 2 and 3 of their situation. But when you look at it and you look at the Pistons, you go, okay, you have Blake Griffin, you have this very talented superstar, and then you surround him with Andre Drummond, Reggie Jackson, and aging veterans. And I'm like sitting here shocked and floored that one of the things that people are hanging their head on is the fact that they're like, oh yeah, Derrick Rose is playing great. And I'm like, Derrick Rose is going to be a candidate for load management games because of how old he is and he's injury prone. So Joe Johnson is also a guy removed from, the Big Three league. How do you look at it and go, that's the situation we kind of hang our hat on, is that we're going to win more games with aging veterans? And so I just feel bad because what the Pistons should have done 2 years ago was completely blow it up, enter, the lottery a couple years in a row, draft high, and roll with a younger team. But it seems like there's this hodgepodge of like a mix of veterans that are really older and having Blake Griffin, which at the end of the day, it's not going to be, I don't think, very successful. Great. Granted, you could win one playoff round. Wow. But in terms of championship aspirations, I mean, yeah, we're going to see maybe the development of Bruce Brown, Luke Kennard, and things like that. But at the end of the day, with Luke Kennard, everyone's always going to be reminiscing and wishing that they would have drafted somebody else. He's good, but not good enough to warrant, respecting him more than other talented individuals that could have been here. So the thing with the Pistons is so hard and so tough to grab onto is that everybody wants Andre and Reggie gone, and yet there's still a chance. I can't wrap my mind around it. There's a chance Tom Gores and the Pistons max out Andre Drummond. I just don't see that path being successful, and especially in terms of the relationship with the fans. Andre's great. He's a great rebounder. He does a lot of good things. But in this NBA in 2019, there are teams that win without a max center.
Yeah, move on from Dre. Let's start the movement. The hashtag on Twitter, John, via @Detroit Podcast for the Detroit Sports Podcast Network on Twitter. And I'll support it at Vito Jerome on Twitter. But this is really telling via the Sports Illustrated NBA Preview Edition. You look at something that they wrote about the Pistons in their preview about the Pistons. In the first paragraph here, it talks about a telling number, by the way, for each team, and the telling number for the Pistons is 0. As in 0 playoff wins, by the way, Pistons fans. 0 for the Pistons in the past decade. And in that time, they've never drafted higher than 7th overall. As this issue, that is an NBA preview issue, says, this is why teams tank.
Yeah, make sure. Yeah,
quote there.
Yeah,
it's
make
why
sure.
Teams tank.
Yeah, make sure you post that and tag me in it. I definitely want to read it.
So that's really good in telling about the Pistons, John. And then you look at the projected lineup. And the projected starting lineup is missing 2 dudes, at least one that I think should be starting, and Luke Kennard. The starting lineup, as SI projects, is at point guard, Reggie Jackson; at shooting guard, Bruce Brown; small forward, the offseason acquisition, Tony Snell; at power forward, Blake Griffin; and at center, the aforementioned Andre Drummond. So it's an all-right starting 5, but it's a starting 5 that, according to SI, gets the Pistons the MC, meaning a spot outside the playoffs. And it gets the Pistons, according to this issue with SI, 36 wins. So you miss the playoffs with that lineup. And the team's not deep, and you've got veterans that are really aging vets. And I know Derrick Rose had a great year last year, but for him to replicate it, he has to stay healthy. Blake Griffin had a great year last year, but for him to replicate it, he has to stay healthy. And those are big ifs right there for those 2 dudes to stay healthy over the course of a full season. And Reggie Rue, and then Reggie Jackson, was all right last year. But still in crunch time, he was getting pulled left and right for backup Ish Smith. And I think Reggie, once again going into this season, John, will be pulled when it matters the most because he'll be unreliable. And subsequently, D. Rose will be going in the game in crunch time to maybe even bail out the Pistons at times. So I think D. Rose could be quality off the bench. But when you consider that right now, that people are saying, I guess it's just what is going to happen going into the start of the season, Luke Kennard is going to come off the bench. When he was your best performer in the playoffs in that first-round series against the Bucks, in which you were swept and embarrassed. And Luke Kennard was the only guy that was scoring the basketball. And you're going to have him come off the bench? And I get it, you want to score off the bench. He could be that 6-man kind of dude off the bench to bring that scoring off the bench. But I'm thinking, Luke Kennard is one of your building blocks for the future. He's a guy that they don't want to involve in trades for other guys that, are big-name dudes. Well, then shouldn't Luke Kennard be starting? I mean, that makes sense to me. And I get it that Bruce Brown is an effective perimeter defender. He's the guy that's defending on the perimeter, the opposing team's best perimeter player, that is. So I get Bruce Brown adds something defensively. But he's a guy that averaged 4 points per game last year. I mean, he's not a great scorer. And he's their 2-guard in this day and age of scoring the basketball and of having great perimeter scores and great perimeter talent. That's why I think Luke Kennard should be starting. And once again, when you look at this roster collectively, and you see some of these dudes that are just aging guys that you can't predict will replicate their past seasons and last season specifically. Well, because of all of that, the Pistons are what? The best case scenario, and I said it on Sunday with Dominic and Vito, check it out tomorrow. The best case scenario for the Pistons this season is a 43-39 mark. And what does that get you? It leads to an 8th seed, maybe a 7th seed in a wide open Eastern Conference with Kawhi Leonard having left the Toronto Raptors in the offseason to join the LA Clippers. But still, I mean, I think you're a 7th or 8th seed at best. And remember, I brought this up on previous editions of Two Bad Hombres. The Pistons went 41-41 last year, and they got a career year out of Blake Griffin. You really think Blake Griffin's going to replicate that season? And you really going to bank on Blake Griffin not getting hurt once again until late in the season, as was the case last year? I'm not going to bet on that. And I think because of all of those factors, I mean, once again, best case scenario for the Pistons in the 2019-2020 season is a 43-39 mark.
Yeah, it's tough all the way around because you just, as a fan, realize they're stuck in the middle. And, you know, obviously, potentially this year, Reggie Jackson could get traded. Andre, I do think that, seriously, that if they do max him out, it's going to set the franchise back because I think Blake and Andre are fine together, but at the same time, you need a scoring wing. You need somebody that can score the basketball. You need someone better than Reggie Jackson and someone even better than Derrick Rose. You need a lot more depth. You need a situation in which if you're going to be a three-point shooting team, you need more than one or two guys that can effectively shoot better than 35% from the three. So that's going to be super tough this year to sell to fans. And I think it's just going to be really tough to get people in the seats and people to buy in. I don't see them winning 36. I think they'll be around 500. I do think that whenever you have Blake Griffin, who's a Warrior, you have an opportunity to at least win some games. And, I think maybe the value of maybe what SI said in terms of the East is maybe a tad too high, in that the East sometimes, when you look at it, is top heavy, but, from 5 to 8, you can kind of, weasel your way in, and you never know what happens when, the Pistons get together and this mix, because Dwayne Casey's a decent head coach. Let's not sell him short, but you're absolutely right, Vito. In terms of the Pistons, it's tough. So I got a sense of what you and Dom said. What did, the Johnson brothers have to say?
No, the Johnson brothers are more optimistic. And by the way, they run Palace at Pistons.com.
Oh, they're optimistic.
Yeah.
All right, hold on a second. Hold on. Okay, I'm going to send a message right to them through this podcast. Look, I know you run a blog called Palace of Pistons and things like that, but if you're using the word optimistic, it just makes me question a little bit the angle in which you're coming at this from. You can't be optimistic about the Pistons, and I guess I'll have to listen to see why. You can't be optimistic about the Pistons when you see the makeup of that team. It's not possible. It's not possible to be optimistic. They should be frustrated. They should be pissed off that, like you said, to start the segment, a decade without winning a playoff game. And wow, let's say they win a series. The team is not headed toward a direction of winning a title. And that's why tanking would be something to be ideal. Optimistic? I don't know if that even generates attention to be optimistic, because that just pisses me off. Optimistic? That's crazy.
Yeah, not about the Pistons. That's a day and age to be optimistic about the Pistons, who made the playoffs last year, but were only 500 and got swept. And they got embarrassed. And once again, based on this preview from Sports Illustrated, there's a really good stat. And it says here that, so by making the playoffs, losing via a sweep to the Milwaukee Bucks, it was the second worst point differential in a sweep in NBA history. So, and as it says here, it adds that another year in the middle awaits. Another year in the middle ground awaits specifically. Meaning they are in a rut. The franchise is in a rut. It's not moving forward. It's not going backward, because the team isn't willing to take. It's not going, in the direction of just getting rid of everybody and trying to rebuild. And that's because of the owner, Tom Gores, too, who I don't think knows what he's doing, and he wants to win. And truly, though, the team is not in win-now mode. He believes that they are, and he wants to try to win with this current iteration of the Pistons. But he's not going to win with this Pistons roster. It's not good enough to win, even in what should be a top-heavy Eastern Conference more than last year, it seems, at least right now on paper going into this season. Still, the Pistons roster is not of the caliber that would allow the Pistons to contend for an Eastern Conference championship. And it seems like so long ago now, Doc, where the Pistons made those 6 straight Eastern Conference Finals appearances, making the finals twice in that span, when they should have made it more than twice. But, hey, still at this point, the Pistons fans and pundits alike, I think, would accept the Pistons as making the Eastern Conference Finals, which even if they made the playoffs this year, they're not going to pass the first round, so they're not going to make the Eastern Conference Finals. And I want to go back to Andre Drummond really quick, and we hit on that topic completely on Sundays with Dominic and Vito. Check it out tomorrow morning via the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. And my viewpoint about Drummond, which you can hear more about that in detail tomorrow once again, is that if you extend him, you're making a huge mistake. And I know it starts with, if you really want to go back in time with Drummond and the Pistons, it goes back to Stan Van Gundy giving him that max contract. And that was an issue in itself. And Drummond, in my opinion, and I think the stats prove it too, he's never lived up to the bill of that max contract deal. He's never been good enough to warrant that big of a contract. And now, Pistons fans are thinking of giving him another big long-term deal. And I get it, he's been good in flashes. He brings a lot of great defensive qualities at the rim as a rim protector. So I think he is a quality rim-protecting big. But offensively, with his back to the basket, he's still limited. And because of that, he doesn't warrant another big deal. And guess what it seems like? Because Tom Gores is in bed with Andre Drummond and loves himself some Andre Drummond, it seems like they're going to extend him. And this would be, if they do extend him, John, it would be a bigger mistake than when SVG gave him that max contract.
No doubt, Vito. I've enjoyed the conversation. If you agree or disagree with anything that we've said, head on over to Flick. It's a great group chat application. You can definitely let us know if we're wrong or message Vito on Twitter at Vito Jerome or the podcast at Detroit Podcast. I enjoyed the conversation this morning, Vito. Thanks for the time.
Very fun. A lot of negativity, not a lot of optimism, but here's some Pistons optimism at the very least on tomorrow's episode of Sundays with Dominic and Vito.
Talk soon. Bye-bye.
Adios.